Pro Tour, Cas?
Terrible. Yeah. It was my worst tier 4 actually. It was a little sad. Well, okay, I guess that's not entirely true. I did worse at Worlds, but then I topped for the calling afterwards. So it was kind of like it like flipped. It was like fine, right? It was like, oh, bad day at Worlds, but then you go like top for the calling. But this time they both went bad. It wasn't my turn, but my teammates did sick. So I don't know.
I love that. Well, welcome back, Cas, from the Pro Tour, and welcome back to The Winning Point, where we win points, a podcast where we talk about Riftbound. It's just Cas and I today. We've had had some post roulette happening here at The Winning Point, but we're still talking about Riftbound. The entire set of Origins has been revealed, which is an extremely exciting time. So now the market, or the proverbial market, not the literal market, the proverbial market has been flooded with cards. There's been way more cards than I even thought was in the set, even though I knew exactly how many cards were in the set. And there's a lot to talk about. Today we're going to be talking about cards we're looking forward to playing, what our experience has been like in kind of week 0 to week 1. So I'm not going to go over everything today. That will come in a future video, or a past video, depending on where we are. We're temporally ambivalent. But I've been having fun jamming games. Pixelborn has been a nice way to play games. Shout outs to the third-party people making things like TTS and Pixelborn work, because there's definitely an appetite to play more Riftbound, Cas.
Yeah, I love just being able to queue up. I think that's been the really big thing with Pixelborn. I do think they personally hate me because the decks that I've been trying to play, most of them don't work properly on Pixelborn yet. However, it seems like those devs have been in a frenzy. I mean, first of all, getting all the cards on there. And then secondly, I mean, they're going to be fixing up a lot of those like small issues that still are occurring. But I thought it was very funny. Everything that I kept trying to play was not working exactly properly because I am trying to play these very janky, weird combo decks that must be a nightmare to code.
Yeah, I think the thing that struck me about seeing all the cards was, first of all, this set's massive. Like, there are so many different cards. There's so much support for different archetypes. I struggled to figure out what should go in my deck. And then I kind of realized that, like, I don't know how to build decks in this game. Like, all of the knowledge I have from other card games, all of my experience just doesn't matter that much because you have so many options, and narrowing that down to 40 cards is really challenging when you have things like, I have a legend automatically. I have a legend I need to care about. I have a champion that goes in my champions in permanently that I always have access to at least once. Like, filling the other 39 slots after you pick your legend and nominate a champion, not that easy. And I think we'll learn a lot about what the game is like competitively, what good deck building looks like, what heuristics to use as people play more and more. But yeah, it turns out the entire set getting thrown at you in week 0, kind of challenging to figure out what's good and what's not. But it's been really fun learning.
Oh, I've been having crazy issues with the 40 card limit. Yeah. I'm just like, I want to fit these cards and I don't know how to fit them. And so I definitely play a lot more like 1 and 2 ofs than I feel like I do in a lot of other card games. But I also am like playing decks with a lot of card draw. So I think it makes a little bit more sense because you like cycle into those 1 and 2 ofs more frequently. I think more and more I'm like liking playing a single champion unless that champion is entirely integral to the strategy of the deck. And if you lost it, you would like lose the game. So like Leona, I still play 3, but most of their decks, I'm like, I'll just play the 1 because I'll always draw it. And then I can play like fit more 1 or 2 ofs of other unique tech cards, which I'm not sure if is good, but it's like where my early brain has gone. I mean, I know you've been playing some like interesting stuff, some Yasuo, some Ahri. I feel like neither of us have played stuff that is like particularly meta. We've just been playing very jank brews. I've been playing
very unhinged
a Teemo deck where the purpose is to stack your entire deck with recycle and then resolve a promising future into time warp to win the game. And it uses Nocturne as like your early game because you are recycling everything so fast. And it plays reanimate cards so that you basically are trashing as many cards as possible to draw a discard to get through your deck faster and thin it so that you can recycle to the combo. It has been incredibly fun and way better than I thought.
Yeah, I've been messing around with a bunch of different stuff. And it's funny that you mentioned like cutting cards, because I've definitely found myself cutting more cards than I thought. Like when I thought 40 card decks, 3 ofs, like I'm just going to be fueling things up with the best cards. And I think especially because there's no sideboarded games yet, at least on Pixel One.
Right.
And I'm certainly not playing in any tournaments or anything where there are sideboards. You do kind of shove all your best cards in your main deck, and then you're not really thinking about like the larger picture of like what are you changing in and out, what are your other battlefields like, you're just rolling around a battlefield of 3 you pick and then going from there. I do think in terms of like what I've been hitting, I've hit an unbelievable amount of Volibear on the ladder, especially Dazzling Aurora Volibear.
Oh yeah,
so much so that I like rage queued putting 3 acceptable losses into my deck just to try and get free wins because I was so mad that I kept losing to Dazzling Aurora. But that card's actually better than I thought.
Oh yeah,
those decks can ignore a lot of the early game, and then turns out when you just start getting giant monsters for free, it can be kind of tough to win, especially in the domains I was playing.
Well, it's really funny because it's in body as well, and by far the best answer to it is also in body. It's one of the newer cards, and we will talk about it later, but it's Sabotage. It's like essentially duress for Magic, right? Look at their hand, grab a non-unit card. So you just are also playing body, and you're just like, all right, look, oh, there's your Dazzling Aurora. All right, your deck is not nearly as good now. But I've also seen like just a ton of body in general, right? Like Set has been maybe the most common thing I've run into. I've seen a lot of Volibear. I think Set and Lee Sin right now seem incredibly strong to me, especially Set. I think now that the buff synergies came through, we've said it since the very beginning, that legend looks very illegal. And I do think that like now that the buff synergies are in and they're good, it does make Set start to feel just very powerful.
Yeah, Snapvine, another card I've run into a lot. It's kind of like in my opinion, like one of the best cards currently getting played. I don't know if it's the best card in the whole set, but certainly a card you should expect to see a lot of whenever you're playing against body. But let's talk about some of the specific things that we've been playing. Yeah. So for this, kind of put together some like, these are packages of cards I've been playing that I've been enjoying. And unsurprisingly, I'm playing my favorite champion in League of Legends and one of my favorite champions from Letters of Runeterra in Riftbound. This is Yasuo, and my goodness, the support they added to Yasuo feels so good. Ride the Wind, one of the best cards I think in the set, just like a straight up
very good
absolute house. If you have ganking, you can move between battlefields. It gives you a move and a ready in 1/2 energy card. Yes, it costs 1 power, but like this card is just good. It's obviously great in this deck, but in some decks, this card is just be one of your best cards. So Ride the Wind has been super good. Fight or Flight has been surprising to me. 2 energy, move a unit from battlefield to its base. You can hide it, but I've just been casting it natty most of the time. Even as a defensive spell, I actually lost a game I should have won, but I forgot to cast a Fight or Flight as they approach the battlefield with all their runes tapped. So you can use this defensively too, just to kind of keep people off of different objectives as they're trying to move units around. And then Kog'Maw has been really fun in this deck. I don't know if it's that good, but with Yasuo's legend ability, this is a reasonable 5 energy board wipe. You can get off with pretty big consistency. This was mostly here fighting Victor because I hit a lot of Victor early on, but I don't know how actually good it is. And then Traveling Merchant and the Siren, these are like the good cards in this archetype. Traveling Merchant, obviously just one of the best 2-drops in the game. Great in this archetype, great in many archetypes that have chaos in them. But the Siren, I think, surprised me the most. I didn't think having an extra free move would matter that much, but turns out in the like Yasuo deck, where mobility is your whole thing, being able to move a unit for free is extremely powerful because you can do things like move a unit with Yasuo, move it back to safety. You can move a unit that you've held, move it again with move it, and then move it back with Yasuo. You can kind of do like all of the different motions you would need with just your legend and 1 Siren. I'm only playing 1 in most of my decks, but Siren looked pretty good on paper and has played even better than I could have imagined. So definitely think if you want to play Yasuo, you should play this card.
Yeah, I think this has been really cool. I want to ask just before I quickly note on some of these things. Are you playing Kayn with this? I assume so with all this extra like moving and readying.
I should be, but I haven't been.
Okay, I was curious because
leaning on purple Yasuo to try and win.
Yeah, okay. Winning with purple Yasuo, I mean, obviously makes sense in this. But in the trial decks, actually, Kayn was pretty impressive to me. And now the support for that card is like everywhere. There's so many ways to like make him active. And so I was curious if Kayn was feeling successful now. I'm going to want to try some of that too. So I want to see what your baseline is for this list and maybe see if I can jam a couple copies of Kayn and see how it goes. But I also wanted to know, Kog'Maw, I think is just good. I think you're right. Yeah. Like I've even played it just like sitting it at your base and just leaving it there and saying, okay, like, do you want, if you overcommit, Kog'Maw runs in. If you don't overcommit, especially into Victor, right? That's why I even like Kog'Maw at all is against Victor. But then it's like, okay, take with 1 recruit. All right, I'll just cap it back. Like with not the Kog'Maw. The Kog'Maw is still here. You still have to think about this Kog'Maw. You can never overcommit, and this Kog'Maw will always just be able to run in. So I like it a lot. I think Yasuo is kind of like the best deck for it because of the flexibility of it just being like a 5 energy, 1 power, send it in, which I think is quite good. But yeah, definitely like the Void Puppy. I think it's a good card.
Yeah, you can like ride the wind in Showdown too, which is pretty fun.
Oh, true.
If it's in your base, you can just be like, oh, move them in.
Oh, that's great.
Because if you make a multi-move, you have to make it all at once. So you'll know if they're overcommitting. They probably won't because they're not dumb, but every now and then you get someone and it's kind of fun. I will say the one card that's not in here that has been shockingly good for me is actually the single copy of Green Yasuo, the 6 energy one. It just sits in my champion zone and I've used it way more than I thought I was going to. He's actually saved me a bunch of games just being like, oh, I have nothing else. I need to clear out a board quickly, much like people have probably experienced in the trial decks. Yasuo, especially with all this mobility, can clean up 2 battlefields and get 2 points very, very freely. So it has weirdly been one of my best performing cards. I put it in just kind of as a throwaway. So I've been surprised how good having access to 1 copy of 6 energy Yasuo has been.
I absolutely loved it when it was like using that with Last Breath in the trial decks, right? Like Last Breath, Green Yasuo. It's like the quintessential, this is the Yasuo combo. And it always felt very strong. So that makes sense that it's been performing, especially since you're just playing all this extra mobility for purple Yasuo. It just like also hits Green Yasuo. It's also like, okay, now you attack 1 base, you clear it because you get the 6 power swing, and then it's like, oh, I guess I'll just ride the wind, move and ready it, and then attack another place. And I think that just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think I actually have too much movement in this deck. Like, talking about, again, not knowing how to build decks and like when to cut cards, I wanted to like make purple Yasuo as good as possible. So I just added all the mobility cards, and I think I just have too many. Like, your legend already helps you move. Siren is really good at moving you around. A lot of your units have ganking. You have plenty of ways to ready them. Like, I just have too many things that do nothing, not enough units, I think, in this deck. So again, like, you learn a lot going through even the early iterations. And this is far from optimized, but it's been very fun. And I think actually the most successful deck I've built. So it's been very, very fun.
That's very cool. I think one of the biggest learnings that I found is trying to find a room for more like low drops, because a lot of them are not very exciting. Like the 2 drops. Merchant is an exception. I'm very excited about Merchant. I always want to play that card, but it kind of feels like I need like 6 drops I can play on 1, and I don't want to fit 6 drops I can play on 1. But you kind of like have to find good ways to do it, and that's definitely a deck building thing. But you said you need more units, maybe Kane, but that's an expensive unit to go alongside some already expensive units probably in that deck.
I definitely want to play some Kane, which should be a lot of fun. Ahri, of course, I've been playing a lot of too. I've been doing some unhinged things. I'm going to warn everyone. The next 2 things I'm about to show you, very unhinged. So here's Ahri. Everyone should know what Ahri does, but if you don't, her legend says when an enemy unit attacks a battlefield you control, give it -1 this turn to a minimum of 1. And I have basically been messing around with Mask of Foresight, which all the Yi players should be very familiar with. Very powerful piece of gear, especially in decks where you're trying to hold or conquer efficiently with 1 unit, which is kind of what these domains want to do in general, certainly what Calm wants to do. But I've been I said to myself, like, if I play the units that ready themselves quickly on 3, is that good enough to try and like take tempo back? And so I've been playing Pit Crew and a bunch of very terrible gear to try and trigger it, which I don't think is good, but has been decent. But Sprite Call has massively overperformed for me, especially in this build of Ahri. Sprite Call, Mask of Foresight, especially if you have more than 1 mask, is completely unreasonable. I've done some gross things with Sprite Call. Yes, you can hide it at a battlefield if you want. I think with the way the rules work out, I didn't actually check this before recording, but I think with the way the rules work out, I think Mask triggers when people come in. So if you have a single unit and a hidden card at a battlefield, I think the unit will get bigger because the defense triggers will happen. And then you can unhide the Sprite Call. And now you have an extra unit, but your original unit, I think, is still considered, it already got the buff from being alone. So I think they stay. I don't know if this is true. That would be very strong if that's how the rules work. But it doesn't work with Watcher, but I think it might work with Mask of Foresight, but I don't know.
That sounds correct, because it's when a friendly unit attacks or defends alone, which is the attack or defend trigger step, right? It would get the +1.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's a continuous check or if it's just once. That's actually really cool. That's a cool idea, of course, with this Sprite Call, because you still get the +1. And you're playing multiple masks, so you're trying to get a couple of these on the board. and then getting value from the Mask of Foresight in that way as well, right? Like you said multiples. Okay.
Yeah. I'm playing all three. I've been trying to run the 3 might sprites and the 3 might pit crews into empty battlefields and have some fun with them, which has been cool. Really exciting. I've even had turns where like, actually, I was playing this in Yasuo too, which is even better because then you have units you can move multiple times and they retain the buff because it's until end of turn. So you can like have a buffed unit from Mask of Foresight, move them back with Legend, and then ready them and move them again to a different battlefield. And it's like even bigger.
Double dip.
So you could super efficiently clear out all the battlefields. But in this deck specifically, the thing I didn't realize is that Sprite Call and all the temporary units go away before your beginning phase happens.
Yes.
Which means they can't score, which is good. That would be completely overpowered. But they actually can like protect territory for you. It's not just the turn you play them. And that's been shockingly good. Like a Sprite Score buffed goes in, holds the territory. And then now if I have 1 or 2 masks in play, instead of a 3 might unit that's just chilling there, it's a 4 or 5 might unit plus whatever spells I have. So it's actually like, not only is it good at taking territory for you actively, but you can prevent your opponent from taking it too, which is not something I realized when I first read the card.
You're a genius, Pastry. I think you're a genius. I don't know if it's actually good, but you are a genius. It's very funny. It's like a very, very cool idea that is just overrate. Like it is like,
yes,
like playing Sprite's Call is just going to be overrate. I mean, it's a 3 power with accelerate that you didn't have to pay any, or not even accelerate. It just has haste, right? Like it just enters ready. You don't have to pay any power for it. And then with it's such a funny, that might be good. It might actually be kind of good.
The thing that I don't think is good, Pit Crew I think is not good in this deck, unfortunately. I really wanted it to be good. I think that the trouble, like the tension here is that Ahri cares so much about holding that holding alone feels a lot worse. It feels really good in the early game, but it's been kind of hard to close games. And this deck isn't quite tempo-y enough to reasonably take 8 points just by kind of nickel and diming battlefields. I had a bunch of games with this deck where I got to like 6 points really easily, and then it felt impossible to close out the game. And I think with how Ahri operates in general, because you can hold at 6 and win a single battlefield if you have the 5 energy green Ahri, I think you want to focus more on building up a bigger board and then really making battlefields hard to attack. And I think the like when alone stuff is good for early game and also good for like keeping the other battlefield in check. Because I think the best way to play Ahri is to hold one battlefield down like a fortress. But what I was trying to do didn't quite work out. Because I could only take stuff in the early mid game and I couldn't really take anything in the late game.
Are you playing the top end of like Thousand-Tailed Watcher?
No.
Okay.
Zero top end. It was like a very tempo-y deck.
Yeah, I was curious if like, because this is a more like it's a conquer focused Ahri, but like Ahri still can hold naturally, right? So you still are going to get some points holding in the mid game. And then your early conquers and your early takes are quite good because of the like defend alone and the sprites calls. But then Thousand-Tailed Watcher is like just insane at getting conquers in the end game for blue. And I think that maybe this is what you're looking for to like get those last 2 points is some amount of copies of Thousand-Tailed Watcher. I rate this card very highly, by the way, just as a like completely side tangent. This was a new one that we haven't gotten to talk about. I think this card's just really insane. I think it's very, very good at its cost.
Yeah, I will say I think a lot of my deck building has trended itself to like wanting really good early and mid games, because that's the space in card games I'm familiar with. And I have been shocked at how good 6, 7, 8 mana plays have been. So I think there's some level of adjustment of like, because 2 times now you're like, you're not playing any high end. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So like, I think there's just like, there's something missing with how I'm evaluating how to build decks where you do want some top end as well. Yeah,
remember you can play that on turn 3 if you go second.
Yeah, that's true.
It's good.
Last thing I've been playing, and this one, I have to warn you viewers, it is extremely unhinged. So I was basically like, all the ready stuff in body seems really powerful, and I really wanted to play with a bunch of gear stuff, because a lot of the gear stuff has been the thing I've been really excited about. I even played some Pack of Wonders Scrap Heap Yasuo, which was very unhinged. So kind of ignore MF here. She's mostly here just for domains, but the ganking effect is actually pretty powerful. I think one of the coolest things MF gets to do is play Vilemawr's Lair, which is the battlefield you can't move back to base from. because if you're there and you have ganking, you can go over, but your opponents can't go over. So it's like a really fun bit of territory to try and hold. But this is, Kiana is good, obviously, but this is basically Pack of Wonders copium package. I have been obsessed with the idea of playing Scrap Heap and drawing a card, and then playing Pack of Wonders and picking up Scrap Heap and then playing it again to draw a card, and then doing this over and over and over and over again because it's just such a good engine. I think it's way too slow, or at least where I'm at right now is way too slow. But Pack of Wonders has been shockingly good with things like Mystic Poro for vision, things like Pit Pookie to buff stuff. Again, like I don't know exactly what the total shell should look like, but Scrappy Pack of Wonders feels pretty good on its own. And I'm pretty sure it also works with Treasure Trove, because Treasure Trove says leave the battlefield. So if you pick up a Treasure Trove, you just get the trigger as well.
100% works.
And the thing about gear is that you have to make the investment initially, but it's permanent. It's like stays around to keep doing its thing over and over again. And it's a little harder to interact with than units on average. Yes, there are some like good tech cards that are good against gear, which I'm sure we'll talk about another day. But gear has felt really powerful and really fun. So I've been trying to like abuse Pack of Wonders specifically as many times as I can, because it seems like there's something good there. I just don't know what it is yet. And maybe it's a future set thing, but let me tell you, I've been trying it. This is one of the reasons I'm also interested in Teemo, because Pack of Wonders Teemo, that might be where the real source is.
I mean, immediately I'll note, like, Teemo is the thing that this week coming back from Singapore that I've actually been playing a lot. And Scrap Heap is in the deck as a 3 of, but I like never play it. It is entirely discard fodder, and gets thrown away all the time as an extra draw, because it is like, I don't want to play 3 more cards. I want to find my combo pieces. So I'll play 3 Scrap Heap and we will throw it in the bin over and over again to get more cards. And I think I've actually liked it in general. Worst case, you don't have a discard outlet and then you play it for 2 to cycle, which is completely fine. So I actually do like Scrap Heap a lot. And I think that the idea of like Pack of Wonders Treasure Trove is very cool. And I think that if you can have more ways to abuse Pack, and I think the biggest thing is you have enough energy that it feels good for those bounces. I think that's always been my issue with these cards so far, because I don't have nearly enough testing in them, is like, oh, I want to like play a Soul Gorger and then Pack of Wonders it and then play it again to like get a bunch of this recursion. But then it's like, the power cost is 2 and it costs 8 to play. So it's like, that doesn't feel as good. Pit Rookie sounds amazing. That sounds great with Pack of Wonders. To get the additional buffs and stuff.
There's some fun stuff happening here. Again, like definitely been cooking, and I can't tell if it's burnt yet, but I've been having a great time doing all this stuff.
No, that's good. That sounds very cool to me. I am a fan.
Yeah, especially with like, again, wanting a bunch of 2-drops. All the gear costing 2 has felt kind of good. And it felt like taking the tempo back is not so bad in like turns 2 and 3. Although I do agree with you that, like, especially with how the mulligan rules work, you do need low drops, even if they kind of stink, because it's just very beneficial to be able to interact in the early stages of the game.
Yeah, that's the benefit with the Pit Rookie, though. You can just play it on 2, and then you'll Pack of Wonders it back after it like does its thing on the board early on, and then you can actually play it for the buff later. If you still just like have space to do so. Which is kind of neat. That's kind of nice.
This didn't. They had Mistfall stuff going on. Very unhinged things have been happening. But the color combination seems really cool. MF feels like one of those legends that isn't explored more, and I think she has a lot of interesting stuff to offer. Which I like the combo. About. Yeah. Anyway, we have something to show now from our good friend Blevins, who unfortunately couldn't be here for this part of the show. But Blevins has been playing Kai'Sa because he likes winning, I think is the reason.
I wanted to talk about some cards that we got revealed, all sorts of stuff with the new cards, and I picked out a couple for my show and tell segment here. I've grouped them into 2 groups. The first group is Kai'Sa. I was testing Kai'Sa a bit in Pixelborn before the wave of new cards, or the final wave of cards came out, and was pleasantly surprised at how she played. Very much a control style deck. A lot of times the problem with control is that it is really good at having an answer. The problem is when you don't know the question, having an answer doesn't matter, right? So you need to know what kind of damage-based removal spells are good. Is it 3, 4, 5, 6? What what is the break point that we need for these spells to actually have an impact on the meta. So that will certainly be seen. But even before these new cards came out, I've been having a lot of fun with Kaisa, and it's been very powerful. So it's only getting better with these cards here. As we can see, the main focus is going to be Kaisa Survivor. That is the 4 energy, no power cost, 4 might. It is an Angie Kaisa, but no power cost there. Has accelerate, so you can pay 1 energy and a Angie power to have her enter ready, 1 additional energy and to have her enter ready. And she simply says, when I conquer, draw 1. Yeah, it's early to say, but I think gonna be one of the top 5 best most impactful cards in Riftbound. Now, of course, it depends on how good Angie ends up being. She's very strong, having the cheaper accelerate. So there's not usually the standard accelerate is 5 energy base cost with accelerate. So it's usually either 5 energy, no power, or for something like Misfortune, it ends up being 6 energy and 2 total power to have her enter ready. Warwick doesn't technically have accelerate, but just always enters ready and costs 6 energy and 1 power. So Kaisa definitely above rate in that sense. Again, the break points are going to matter. Is 4 might enough to be impactful? Regardless of that, just being able to contest from your hand is going to be strong. Being able to sort of punish the conservative play, where if you're playing against a Victor, a lot of times they're going to want to conquer with just 1 recruit, and you can go, play my Kaisa, ready, kill your recruit for free, draw a card and get a point. That's going to be really strong, especially in a deck, a control deck that is really going to want to be 1-for-1ing a lot, I think. Obviously, you're going to want to be doing, you're going to want to be 2-for-1ing as much as possible, but there's not a lot of cards that inherently 2-for-1 in Riftbound. There are obviously some, and we're playing a lot of them, but there's not an infinite number. So Kaisa is going to help you keep the cards flowing, which is really great. Speaking of 2-for-1s, we've got our boy from lore. It is Riptide Rex, who is a 6 energy, 2 blue power cost, 6 might unit that says, when you play me, deal 6 to an enemy unit at a battlefield. So we've got a blue Snapvine now. Also, by the way, Riptide Rex is a common, which feels wrong considering Snapvine. I mean, you look at this versus Snapvine. Snapvine obviously costs 1 energy less, which is obviously huge. Same might, same power cost. But Rex doesn't even fight. Rex just does the damage. So in a lot of ways, this is better than Snapvine. Riptide Rex seems really, really strong. It is a bit of a heavy blue power cost, and Kaisa, the Legend Kaisa, does not help circumnavigate that power cost, but even so, going to be one of the better finishers, I think, in most of the blue decks, and especially the control ones. We've got, on the cheaper side, we've got another really good option for Kaisa and other Angie decks. This is Hextech Ray, 1 energy, 1 Angie power spell. It's at action speed, just says deal 3 to a unit at a battlefield. This is from an energy cost, very cheap, obviously, very efficient. The 1 resource for 3 damage is a standard in Magic the Gathering. It's not Lightning Bolt because you can't go face in the same way, but it definitely kills units in the same way. Reaction speed like Lightning Bolt kind of would be, but it is action speed, so you can still interact in combat a little bit, just not in the same way that you can at reaction speed. Obviously going to be a staple, I think. One thing I will note as sort of a general thing that I found myself evaluating incorrectly or not quite evaluating fully is those cheap energy but also still have a power cost associated with them cards. It's going to catch you, right? It is not nothing to bottom a rune, to recycle a rune. It's something that I think we're taking for granted 1 energy, 3 to a unit. Yeah, I'm playing that all day, but you can't just play this type of card every single turn or else you're just going to get behind. So I think the power cost economy is something that we're going to learn and really fully flesh out as a community, and as the competitive meta develops, we're going to get a better understanding of, oh, you really cannot be committing this much power this early or else you're just going to lose the early game. Or definitely a card to consider, Hextech Ray. Sprite Mother. This is an uncommon. It is 4 energy, 1 blue power, 3 might unit. It says when you play me, play a ready 3 might sprite unit token with temporary here. So you get a 3 might sprite. It comes in ready. You can use it right away. Really quite strong. Kind of has an accelerate, kind of, except you're not actually you're not risking the unit itself. So you get half of the power with accelerate, try to capture, try to maybe just get a favorable trade up, etc. And then you're still left with the 3 might body from the Sprite Mother. I think this card is low key going to be very strong, especially if we start, with Ahri decks. I think this is going to be a really good one. It seems like the mid-range player's dream here. Maybe not quite a super aggressive card, and maybe not quite a control deck, but I think mid-range really loves this. Really think Sprite Mother's going to make an impact here, especially if we start to see the Kais or even the Ahri deck be more of a mid-rangey sort of beatdown deck. Last card I wanted to talk about in this package is the Convergent Mutation. And if you're watching this on YouTube or in video form, my vote for gotta be one of the best arts in the set, right? I just love this. Really vibrant green owl. We know what this is. It's a weird owl creature from Bandle City. So super excited about the art on this one. But it is a 2 energy, 1 blue power spell at reaction speed that says choose a friendly unit, increase its might until it equals the might of another friendly unit. So yeah, you can turn all of your units into Dr. Mundo if you want. It's a pump spell, which I think have a lot more value in Riftbound than they might in other games. This is just a card that sort of gives you a higher ceiling than a lot of the pump spells and other spells. Not a ton of things because it's reaction speed, you're not really going to get blown out in the same way that you are able to in Magic with other pump spells. So really, I don't think that this one is going to be necessarily format defining, but I think it definitely can warrant inclusions in some decks, and I'm really in the entire set. So that is my Kais package show and tell. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below.
All right, I know Blev had some additional ones. You're gonna have to help me through this next one because I never really played MTG. I've done some drafting, I've done a little sealed here and there, but I'm not like a big MTG person. I know you've never talked about MTG before either,
no,
really.
Never
once. But Blev's got some comparisons of some of these new cards to old MTG cards, and I guess walk me through it a little bit, Pastry, on at least the MTG side of things.
It's like the Blevins Boomer segment. He's basically looked at all these different cards from Riftbound, and he's like, hey, I found an MTG card that matches it. And I guess if you're like a Magic player, right, I think there's a lot of Magic players that'll be interested in this game. These are like cards you can look at. And if you like these cards, you might be like, oh, cool, Riftbound has something that might appeal to me. You mentioned Sabotage already, so I'll go over it first. 1 energy, 1 power in body. Choose an opponent, they reveal their hand, choose a non-unit card in it, and then recycle it. So this is Duress. Duress is one of the better hand disruption spells printed across Magic's history. It's most commonly used either in combo decks to remove answers to your combo to pave the way, or against combo decks for the same reason, to take combo pieces out of your opponent's hands so they don't do anything. And I think you can pretty reasonably apply this to Riftbound. I think the one thing that Blevins will want me to say here that I definitely agree with him is that a lot of people have been using Sabotage as a main deck card just to kind of like, I don't know, get ya, because it seems maybe fun to protect your units. Well, Unyielding Spirit is also in body, so I don't think you need to worry too much. But the other thing about Duress is that it's most commonly used as a sideboard card. And I think that's where Sabotage is going to fall in Riftbound as well.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I agree. It makes more sense as a sideboard card overall. I will say one of the biggest things that you get from this, outside of obviously you trade one for one, is hand info. Knowing exactly the cards in your opponent's hands is very powerful. The deck I actually just brought to Pro Tour Singapore for Flesh and Blood was entirely a deck that when I hit with my big harpoons, I get to look at their hand, and then I get to pick a card that matches what the harpoon text says and get rid of it. But sometimes they don't even have a card that I can get rid of. However, me knowing exactly the cards in my opponent's hands is also some value that's very hard to put a number on. And I think Sabotage kind of has that same thing, especially because there's a lot of like combat tricks in green. And I mean, honestly, also in there's a lot of combat tricks in this game that people like playing. Mm-hmm. And so getting to know exactly what those tricks are is an incredibly powerful tool. So I like Sabotage a lot. I'm a big fan of looking at my opponent's hand.
Yeah, really good card. I think a really good card to have in the game, especially. But definitely some like, lessons from Magic's past to maybe heed a little as far as warnings go for the people just straight jamming Sabotage into the main. The other thing I will say about hand info is I agree with you. It's very powerful. The Magic players will know this one, but you won't. So I'll tell you a quick little story. There is a card in Magic that cost 2 life instead of a mana to play. And the only text on this card was look at target player's hand, draw a card.
I'd play it.
That card got banned.
Yeah.
That's how good that card was. I mean, it replaced itself and it was free. So like there were some other things going on
about
Gataxi and Probe. But the information part was massively important to how strong that card was. And that is also true of Sabotage. We'll jump over to Zorna Bouncer though. This is 4 energy, 2 power here in Chaos. So 2 purple power. And then only 2 might, which is a very stinky stat line. And when you read the rest of the text, you'll understand why. When you play me, return another unit to a battlefield, to its owner's hand. So this is Rebuke, the Chaos spell, shares the same power cost, and they doubled the cost to give you 2 might on a unit.
Yep.
That should tell you how valuable they see this effect in Riftbound, because that is a pretty steep rate for this spell. For comparison, this is obviously Mana War from Magic the Gathering, or at least we can reasonably see the inspiration there for the old Magic players. Mana War, pretty good card. Very efficient, but not the most efficient card. And I think that's kind of what Bouncer falls into. Rebuke is very, very powerful, but I think you pay a pretty steep cost for the rate. Bouncer is like, again, kind of steep, but getting a body does let you do a couple of extra things.
Yeah, I see it kind of the same place I see Rebuke as just a sideboard card for Chaos in metas that are revolving around a lot of like single unit protect a place or just big bodies. And it's interesting because the big body decks right now are kind of playing Dazzling Aurora. So Gear Destruction might just be better than this kind of thing as a sideboard card. But just the existence of these cards in Chaos is good. It adds to the toolbox of a region that has a decent toolbox now. It started off where I felt like Chaos looked really weak, but as we've gotten more Chaos stuff, I actually think they're looking quite strong. But Chaos does feel extremely power hungry for finding what they want to do as well, right? Like it feels like Chaos keeps getting these effects that it's like, wow, you have to pay a lot of power to do this thing. And I look at some of the other regions that are getting like get powerful removal effects. I'm like, man, they really didn't have to pay that much for it. So I'm curious if Chaos will prove to us that like these power costs are super justified and that these effects end up being extremely powerful, because I know a bounce effect is powerful. I just don't know if it's worth paying 2 power and all this this energy to do.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And like I played a lot of Gust because I've obviously played a decent amount of. Gust is great. And I feel like Gust, especially in Yasuo, a lot of your value comes from gusting your own stuff, just getting another Clockwork trigger or something else. But this is just 1 energy flat, but it's only 3 might or less. So there's a lot of cool interaction points that Gust promotes, right? Different pumps, different reactions. Like Gust is a really sweet card. And when you cast it and on what unit, there's a lot of intricacies you can kind of play with here. But I agree with you. Chaos feels like very power hungry. Like you have to pay so much for these cards. But I've also been maybe most intrigued by them as I've looked at more and more of the set. Like this card, Whirlwind, I have no idea what's going on with this card. Why do you get to choose if you do the thing? Why is it costed this way?
This one's really funny because it's like written so that it works for 4-player as well, where everyone gets to bounce someone else's unit. And like Whirlwind definitely is way worse when you just have a guy and your opponent has a guy and you want to bounce theirs, but now they also bounce yours. And it's like, I guess I paid 4 and a power for this like symmetrical bounce effect. And so you need to have like a bunch of on-play effects, or you need like the ability to completely like dodge it and not have any units on the board. But then, yeah, I never got Whirlwind as far as like how I want to play it in competitive. It doesn't make sense to me. But I guess we should.
My Pack of Wonders deck.
Yeah, we should. I guess move on to Baited Hook. Right, this is the last one for the Boomer flashback.
We'll quickly talk about Boomer Blevins' love for Birthing Pod. Birthing Pod, one of the single most powerful cards ever printed in Magic, has been banned in Modern still, I think, to this day. This Baited Hook is very similar. Basically, you pay some resources, you kill a unit you own, and then you can find a unit that costs 1 more. The difference is that Birthing Pod, you can tutor through your entire deck, which is obviously very good. Baited Hook, you can only look at the top 5. I think this is more of a like cool thing you can do later as the game gets like moves further on. I also think we don't have a Chaos Order domain yet, where there's maybe more ways to manipulate and look at your deck where this would be a bit better. So I feel like this is definitely a future thing, but Birthing Pod is one of the most powerful cards in Magic's history. Also one of the most fun to play with. People love these kind of effects. So I'm pretty sure Blevins is just doing it for the nostalgia, but it does seem fun.
Biggest difference between these two at the end of the day though isn't even the full tutor. It's this is 1 more might instead of 1 cost, right?
Right?
Which I think 1 cost is so much better than just 1 might more. And like, we see Kraken Hunter gets put on the screen here by production, right? The 3 energy, 2 power, and then 5 might. So you can go find something at 6 might instead, relatively early in the game. So there's definitely some like interesting combos you can do. I know also just kind of going through with like a recruit and then grabbing like just a 2-drop off a recruit. And then trying to like go from there is kind of reasonable. As you said, there's no order chaos, but like you could turn a recruit into a Zonite bouncer, right? Which would be very strong if we get that combination. Very funny that it's just on our screen here, but like there's definitely going to be a way to make this card insane. It's just, I have not found that yet. I don't know if it exists yet. It might. Somebody might tell us in the comments if you think there's like a broken Baited Hook combination. But one day Baited Hook will be a card that we're like, yeah, I can't wait for that to rotate.
Yep, we found the Baited Hook deck. Now give me anything else.
Yep. All right. That's it for Blev's Boomer Flashbacks. Next up is the deck that I've been playing since I got back from Singapore. Unfortunately, I've been gone, right? Those reveals came out. I've been in Singapore. I got back literally yesterday. I slept until like 3 p.m. today. I'm exhausted. But what I did do is I brewed a Teemo deck on the plane, and I've been playing it, and it is degenerate. And we'll just go with some of the cards. Not all of these cards are actually included, but the premise was I wanted to play Mind Splitter as many times as possible. That was the initial idea for the deck. Mind Splitter being 7 energy, 2 power, 7 might. When you play me, choose an opponent, they reveal their hand, choose a card from it, and they discard that card. I got back from the Pro Tour playing a deck that thought seized a bunch. I had a lot of fun. I said, I want to keep doing that in Riftbound. How do I play this more? Well, you add things like Soul Gorger, which is 8 energy, 2 power, 5 might. When you play me, you may play a unit from your trash, ignoring its energy cost. So Soul Gorger, grab Mind Splitter, Thoughtseize again. I was also playing in this Teemo deck Portal Rescue, which is the 3 energy, 1 power, banish friendly unit, then play it to base, ignoring its cost, to continue Thoughtseizing and not letting my opponent have any cards. I was just being an absolute menace with this, right? You can also see Harrowing here. This is the other part of the Reanimator package. This is like 6 energy, 2 power, play a unit from your trash, ignoring its energy cost. I'm not playing this one in the deck because I think with this cost curve, it's not very good. I think there's a way that Harrowing will be strong. It wasn't making sense in like this version. But the thing that was the kicker on this was Invert Timelines not only works to set this up by putting things into your trash, but also when you set your opponent to 4 cards in hand, Thoughtseizing them is so much more annoying for them because they only have 4 cards. It's not like they have a grip of 7 cards or something and you take 1. It's like, no, they have a grip of 7 cards. I set them to 4 and then I start taking cards from them, and it's really was performing way better than I thought it would, which was so much fun. And then Rasa also overperforming so much because I'm constantly filling up my trash and playing. This is a 0 energy, 1 power, 6 might, way more than you would have potentially expected to be able to. So this Reanimator package, and I had Jinx listed here as just another deck that can kind of fill up the trash and then play a Reanimator package. I haven't really tested that much with it, but I think it can. I have fallen in love with Chaos and this like package of cards. It is so much fun.
Yep. I have also considered playing Mind Splitter a lot. And as you know, I've been messing around with Pack of Wonders a lot. So that came up when I was also looking at things to do with Pack of Wonders.
Yeah.
But Mind Splitter is almost a card where if you can recur it this many times, especially with Timelines, which is a very powerful card, not surprised it's doing well here, but B, to your point, helps you reset to kind of keep your opponent under control. You can reasonably lock your opponent out of the game almost, and then just mill them. Because you have way more ways to recycle than they do. So you could actually just like set up a burn-up win, which is not something I thought would be that common in Riftbound. And yet I think this deck, or at least this shell, does a pretty good job of making that a real win condition you can play towards, which is sweet.
And now I want to continue with the magnum opus that was this TiVo deck. And surely I'll maybe make a video on it, or at least like we'll post it somewhere so people can see just the degeneracy that I've been doing. So if you're a Flesh and Blood player, you know about pitch stacking, which is basically in Flesh and Blood, you pay for your cards with other cards, and then you put them to the bottom of your deck. Well, in this game, you recycle and you put things to the bottom of your deck. So with this, there's a lot of discarding, there's a lot of churning through the deck, and there's a lot of recycling the cards. I am playing Promising Future. This is like Promising Future, Nocturne, also playing Stack Deck, right, to try and turbo out all my Nocturnes. But Promising Future is there to grab Time Warp as a finisher. So basically, I stack my deck with all of the early recycle effects to then know exactly where my Time Warp is, use the Nocturnes to score early game, use the late game Time Splitter recursion to keep them in check and set up a board state where I can then win by playing Promising Future, Time Warping, and scoring the last 3-ish points. Usually it's about 3 points that you score at the end there. Uninteractably, because usually they'll be tapped out by the time you actually like are Promising Future Time Warping. And it has been some of the most fun I have had playing a card game. I think my deck is incredibly unrefined and not good yet. And if anyone can crack it to the point where this deck is good, it is degenerate. It's got to be like one of the best decks in the game if you can actually crack the code on this. But it's already performed pretty well just off of the amount of ways that you can get Nocturne out with Stack Deck, which is the 1 energy. Look at the top 3 cards of your main deck, put 1 into your hand, recycle the rest. So you can just make sure you're drawing the card that you need exactly for the time. You're putting these Nocturnes into play. So your early game, sometimes you're getting like 2 Nocturnes out by turn 3, which is just a lot of might to have on the board. I don't know. Pastry, I love this deck so much. I'm having so much fun with this game. It is so sick.
I'm going to go terrorize some people with this right after we're done here. This looks very sweet. I'll also say, I know you have, I think you have 1 copy of Mundo in your deck as well.
That's
which
my
is
recycle.
another way to set up a really juicy stack if you get that low. But for me, just having a good Timelines deck is cool to see. And this seems like one of the cooler Timelines decks that I've seen running around.
Yeah, and notably, Traveling Merchant, we talked about it a little bit earlier. That's in the deck that fuels your engine so well, and it's an early drop, right? So it's
so good.
I have that and the Vision Poro. Sometimes you just play Vision Poro, sees Nocturne, and so my turn 1 is like 2 might Poro, 4 might Nocturne on the board, and it's like, all right, cool.
Damn, that's
like,
gross.
Yeah, it's like it's really, really sick. And then of course Mundo. When Mundo comes into play, it's like plus 12 usually. So it's like this 18 might dude, and then you start putting Nocturnes back in your deck, and then you find the Nocturnes later, right? Because you don't want them for reanimate, and you don't want them in your hand anyway. So you just start putting them back into your deck. So sometimes you also get the stack. The craziest one I've done is I played Promising Future, revealing 3 Nocturnes and Time Warp. So I got 3 Nocturnes on the board and then Time Warp them, which
that's gross.
Is just like, oh my god, if you can do it consistently, man, this shit is so good.
That's sweet.
All right. Anyways, the other thing I wanted to talk about, I haven't played anything else, but I wanted to like get a graphic up of the red gear because I had a friend who's another Flesh and Blood player build a Kaisa deck and then was using Ravenborn Tome. And I was really curious about how these kind of gears work together. Ravenborn Tome, 3 energy gear. You can tap this. The next spell you play deals 1 bonus damage. Kaisa has a couple multi-target effects, so this is gives you extra benefit there. But it got me thinking, like, okay, what are the other gear in red, and are gear something that I underrate? And I think you had a similar thought when you started to just jam gear in Misfortune. And I saw Iron Ballista, and I was really curious, like, between the two. Iron Ballista, 3 energy gear, tap to deal 2 to a unit at a battlefield. Like, is that better than Tome? Do you play it with Tome to make it deal 3? Is this effect even good? Is just every single turn dealing 2 to a unit at a battlefield, is that a strong enough effect? That's a lot of value over the course of a game if you play this very early. And I was just, this was more like open a discussion between the two of us, like, how are we feeling about red gear in general? Because we've also got, I guess we'll go through them quickly, like Sundisk, 2 energy, 1 power, Legion, tap. The next unit you play this turn enters ready. Just get haste on a stick there. Unlicensed Armory, 2 energy, discard 1, exhaust, choose a friendly unit. The next time it dies this turn, you may pay 1 Angie to recall it, 1 Angie power to recall it exhausted instead. So set ability on a stick, right? Which is pretty interesting. So I was curious about those 4. I got one more card here that I'll talk about at the end of this, but these 4 gear, I'm curious, Pastry, what are you thinking about some of these?
I think they're sweet. As a note, Iron Ballista does enter exhausted, which is pretty important because it would be real good if it didn't. And all these gear are all like regular spell speed because there's no reaction or action speed. So you can only do this, on your turn when things are empty. But I think they're all still very powerful. Like gear has been the card type I have watched the most closely since the entire set got released. And I think there's a ton of power in these effects. I think most decks will have a set of gear in all of them at some point. Because I just think like it would be weird to have a bunch of decks that didn't use all 3 card types, and gear is just the 3rd card type, right? At least in your regular deck. There's like battlefields, but that's obviously different. Sundisk, definitely one sticks out to me though. Tome I've played against, it's quite good in Kaiser. It's really annoying actually. Like those Kaiser players play the battlefield that has this effect on it, so they're obviously going to be interested in Tome. But Sundisk, anytime I see a cheap ready effect, I'm like,
yeah, it's like, is it good? Like, is it, because readying is good. So is this thing worthwhile? And I could definitely see it, right? Legion, that is like a real cost that they put on it. You can't just like play your big guy and say, all right, it's ready. You have to play 2 cards. But yeah, I mean, readying is definitely good. I'm curious if Jinx like ever wants to have this gear in play. Like, is this something that you want? And the last card, there was this thing in Legends of Runeterra called the Community Card Kitchen, and they made a card. And I should have, in my prep, I meant to grab the name of the card, and I don't know if it was the same name or not. But in Riftbound, it is now Brynhir Thundersong, using the same art from that Community Card Kitchen. And I just thought that was very cool.
That's so cool.
That this is a card that was made by the community in lore, and we kind of get that representation of this card in Riftbound. And it's on a card that I think is really powerful. It's going to be most likely a sideboard card, especially against maybe things like Kaisa. There's just against spell heavy decks. But it's 6 energy, 5 might. When you play me, opponents can't play cards this turn, which I think is such a powerful effect to have no power cost associated with it. It is just an energy cost. It's niche, but when it's good, when you play this and you have essentially lethal on board, right? The ability to just conquer both places and win the game. And now your opponent cannot respond with any spells. I mean, this is just strong. This is just power for aggro decks that need to close the game. And this lets you shut the door on any deck that was relying on playing combat tricks or playing spells to deny you from actually getting there.
Yeah, it's a great top end card in a lot of different decks, but I think definitely in stuff like Jinx. I've also considered picking this up with Pack of Wonders because, I've thought about just about every decent play effect. But this seems really good, especially like even with the card above it in this graphic, the Sun Disc. You can ready this, and then all of a sudden you actually have something to help you like conquer, and you're basically silencing your opponent for the Magic players out there. So it seems really cool. And I think I didn't know the story behind it, but that's awesome.
I just want to include it for that.
More than one reason. Yeah, that's so sweet.
All right.
They cooked with this one.
They did for sure. I'm glad it's on a good card too. I think this card will see play. I actually would be so shocked if this card doesn't see play. All right.
Hey, this guy
too. Hey, more Magic cards.
Actually, that's a better comparison than Silence. Good work, production. They're the real Magic players here.
They are, actually. There's a lot of Magic players there. All right. Up next, though, Pastry. We've been wanting to do a full episode on these, but we'll at least settle for like 6 new ones or whatever it is. It's Battlefields.
Let's look at Battlefields.
All right.
Finally, the good ones are out.
I know. You've been teasing me about these for months.
I think I've been like trying not to spoil Grove of the Godwheel since the Influencer Summit. When I hold here, draw 1 is Grove of the Godwheel. Obviously, kind of Ahri's home base. But obviously, you can use this in lots of different decks. Navori Fighting Pit. I guess Set has 2 home bases, which feels unreasonable. Navori Fighting Pit, when you hold here, buff a unit here. If it doesn't have a buff, it gets a +1 might buff. Monastery of Harana, also the one that cares about buffs. When you conquer here, you may spend a buff to draw 1. Extremely good card in Set. Sigil of the Storm, when you conquer here, recycle 1 of your runes. This one is actually in the Volley trial decks, but I think it's an interesting one in the sense of like, if you can use this, it's pretty unlikely your opponent can't, and it's really annoying to have to play against. So I think it and Vilebol's Lair, the one below it, which I did mention with MF, units can't move here. Units can't move from here to base. This is really frustrating for certain decks. And if you can abuse this with ganking, or if you just like holding a lot, this is another good battlefield to play that I think most of your opponents won't like playing against. And Hallowed Tomb, maybe the most interesting of all of the battlefields in the game, actually, I think. When you hold here, you may return your chosen champion from your trash to your champion zone if it is empty. I saw a Victor player play this, which I thought was interesting. I don't know who wants to play this, but very powerful effect.
So I like Hallowed Tomb a lot. If you're playing a deck that does really care about your champion, but cares about exactly 1 copy of your champion. So in deck building, you kind of only want to play 1 copy. But your champion is important enough that you want to be able to potentially get it back. I think Hallowed Tomb is cool for that. I think Victor falls into that category because I don't know how often you want to play multiple copies of either Victor onto the board. I know that their effects do stack, but I don't know that you necessarily want to spend your turn playing another Victor if you have one. And so I guess I kind of see that as that could work for it, but also it could be something like your Yasuo deck. You're playing the 1 green Yasuo, and this is a way for you to get it back in a long game if you really need it. So it's a very neat battlefield. I also wanted to call out Vilebol's Lair, really good anti-aggro tech. When I think aggro in this game, I think assault as a keyword. I think trying to conquer very aggressively. And a lot of those decks really like to go in with assault, conquer, your opponent redevelops, and you back up so that you can then go in with assault later. And Vilebol's just shuts that down. They say, okay, if you want to attack into here, you are now going to have to leave your Jinx there without its assault effect for me to pick off later. And I think that's quite good for some control decks that want to, be able to have some counterplay against the aggro lists.
Yeah, notably, I think recall is not a move specifically, so you can recall out of there. But stuff like the Siren, which I actually didn't even think about for Jinx, but probably makes sense given all their assault units, at least is maybe 1 copy. You can't Siren out of Vilebol's Lair either. So shuts off quite a lot of even, non-regular move things. It's annoying. So I think in general, the battlefield variety, now that all of them are spoiled, again, I'm sure we'll talk about this in more detail in the future, but the number of different good battlefields is shocking to me. There are so many good battlefields. Every time I build a deck, I feel like I go back and I put a new battlefield in after I tweak it a little because I just have so many good options available to me. And that is impressive. None of them feel backbreaking, but they all feel interesting. And that is slam dunk design.
Yeah, 100% went from, I guess I just played these 3 battlefields in like almost every deck to, damn, I am struggling to figure out which battlefields I actually want to lock in. Especially now that they have all these like when you hold and when you conquer effects that are all good, or like at least, all make sense for a lot of decks, right? Like Grove of the Godwillow, any deck that wants to hold kind of wants to play Grove of the Godwillow, but they might have other reasons to play something else like Navori Fighting Pits. And at a certain point, it's like, do you just play 3 different ones that say when I hold here, or do you want to play things that help you hold? Because there's one that's like, give a defender 2 shield, right? And that helps you hold, which is really good for hold based archetypes, even if it doesn't give you a when you hold distinction. So I think there's a lot of expression in deck building for the battlefields. I think that they will homogenize a little bit when we get towards competitive, but there will be tech choices. Vile Maws, I think, is certainly one that falls in that category where I don't think we'll see that much Vile Maws played, but it'll be a tech choice if there is a Jinx heavy meta, for example, right? I think Vile Maws would be a great choice for a lot of decks in that case.
Yeah, I think, again, just the texture of the battlefields is really cool. And given that they're such a pivotal part of the game, I'm glad in this first set that they clearly put a lot of thought and effort into them. Even things like with Hallowed Tomb, like in a best of 3, like you have to only play it once. And I think with how the rules are going to shake out, you're going to know when that is. Does that mean you like have champions in your sideboard? Like side them in?
Yeah, that you play when it's not Hallowed Tomb, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know.
You just take the 1 in 3? I don't know. Fun things to think about, but we're almost done here. It's been another wonderful show as always. Always fun to hang out with Cass, even if you're a little jet lagged from your big old flight. How have things changed for you between like before when we were brewing and playing to now that the entire set is out? Because I feel like the floodgates are open and I was not ready.
Okay, so craziest thing. We've been right all along. Order and body are both disgusting.
They're OP.
Set still seems very nuts. I think we undervalued Victor, but not really, because we just said like any order deck could be very good. I think Victor's still just very good. I think he lost a little bit of ground to some of the other like body decks, because it's possible that we were like wrong about order in that body might actually be the best domain and order is second best, but still feels like a pretty good 1 and 2, at least in my mind. But I do think all the other domains made up ground, even though it was like more strong cards were given to order and body. I do think that there's room for some very strong strategies if people expand their minds in how this game can be played. When I look at tournament decks right now from community tournaments, this is not calling out anyone for like being bad or anything. I just think when I look at the decks right now that a lot of people are playing, the strategy is very much just like we're putting bodies on the board and we're trying to take battlefields. And I think that you can do some truly sicko stuff in this game. Like, look at my Teemo deck. I'm not saying it's good. That is not my point here. The point is, my deck has the ability to play a card, develop 3 4-might bodies, and take another turn afterwards. You can do that in Riftbound. So why are we just playing guys? Like, there are some very, very disgusting and disturbing things that you can cook up, and I think people have not found them yet. And I'm not usually the person who finds them. I find some fun things, and I'm not the best deck builder in the world. I'm probably not going to be the one who cracks the code, but I'm just telling you, we're not going to be seeing Master Yi dominating for months. He can dominate 1 more week or 2 more weeks of community tournaments before someone cracks it. That's all I give it. And I know Mo will fight me in the comments that Master Yi's still broken, and that's fine. I just don't think that strategy is going to stay super relevant. That's my take.
I think I agree. I think ultimately the biggest thing from having all the cards out is that this is a very robust set, and that was the intention. It is the first set ever. There's a lot of foundational stuff in Origins, right? They wanted to make sure everyone had access to good cards and lots of different things. We'll be on this set for a while.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that it has this much depth, is a really exciting thing. And I've been enjoying the game so far, and I have so much more to explore. So with that, if you are Mo and you want to fight in the comments, get down there right now and give Cass your your unfiltered thoughts. Or if you have any other comments, please let us know. We love doing mailbag. So in order for us to do mailbag, you do need to leave comments. So interact. Let us know how wrong we are. Let us know what you've been cooking up. Let us know what wild decks you've been playing or cards you've had your eye on. We'd love to hear all of it. For now, I'm Pastrytime. That's Cas. We are The Winning Point, and we'll see you next time.